Hi everyone, it's me again, as always. So let's talk a little bit about the mobilization in Russia and possibilities of what can happen, how it will affect the front lines and the fighting. So if you think about it, this is the first bell that they're not doing good. In fact, that they're actually doing really bad because it means that they have open mobilization, that they failed everything that they intended to do, and that Ukraine succeeded, that we succeeded in a lot of departments, maybe even all of the departments, and that Russia suffered intense and immense losses. So this is a really, really big battle of like a turning point, what will happen in the future, what can unfold. But also at this stage, I want to mention that, as always, I'm not an expert. I just like see how I see it is living and fighting for Ukraine. And but at the same time, you need to think of all the experts and their infographics and understanding and predictions that probably it will not go as they say it will go. There is too much things, too much changings, and the war is a really, so to say, unpredictable situation. So a lot of things can happen, but of course, what it means that Russia suffered heavy losses. They failed miserably, and they had to retreat. They failed. They got swarmed. They got beaten up. They we blown up a lot of their stuff, and they need to regroup, and they need more men. This is the main thing. They need more men because the losses are insane. But if we think about it, Russia has a really big mobilization potential. So if anyone or someone telling you that it's like it's this is the end, they're done for, they donezo, I would probably say that it's kind of a speculation. I mean, of course, it's possible that they will crumble everything and will swarm them fast and will resolve this, but in my opinion, it's highly unlikely just because of how the war theater works. It's not as simple as just like if they crumble, they just retreat and everything like that. They can't because they have these goals, they have everything, the war machine is working for that, and now the mobilization. So, what they will do, they'll have some fresh dudes and probably women go into the front lines and like plug in them as a like plug holes, just making sure that not much of territory that they already captured is taken back by Ukraine. But at the same time, they may think and create other operations and think of starting an offensive in Kiev, Kharkiv, and other regions again. If you think that it's not possible, I would say the possibilities are pretty high, and we are thinking what we can do in the regard, like how we can defend again. Maybe they'll change their tactics, maybe not, but also with Belarus having the hidden mobilization, having this creating an army together with Ukraine, of course, they're already deep in the war, and they also part of this like whole operation and suffering of Ukrainian people. And it looks like that they may commit at some point, and it's the possibility of that, in my opinion, getting higher and higher. So this also can be a factor in the future. But if you think that's over, everything is over, I would say it's just a turning point, but it may be a slow burn, it may be a fast burn, but it's definitely far, far from over, especially because Russia has a much higher mobilization potential. Of course, with the help from our allies, we have better equipment, we have better guns, we have some high technical stuff which helps us, but even despite that, the raw numbers still play a big impact on the battlefield, just because you can just swarm some places, you can apply pressures, you can stretch the lines, which is for Ukrainian army and mobilization potential, we have much lower. I think Russia have 5.5 more X potential in terms of how many people they can have in the military and the military complex. The other question, of course, the quality of this, but sometimes the quantities is just enough. Of course, in our case, it won't be enough for Russia. We'll still win this war, but it's far from over. As I always say, we need to think of the worst possible scenarios and be ready for them. And then when they will not happen, we haven't lost anything because we were ready for the heaviest and the hardest stuff that may happen. But if we won't be ready for these scenarios and they come, then we'll have a big problem. Then we'll be like suffering the consequences of being not ready. So, as they say, you can have your sword for your whole life and never use it. But then, if you don't have it the one time that you need it, it's like, you know, a really bad situation. So we always think about the worst possible scenarios, that Russia is strong, they will make an operation, they will think about the operation, they'll have this done really good. So we think of that and prepare ourselves for the hardest battles and the hardest situations. Otherwise, if you think that it will be easy, it will be light, when it becomes hard, it's really hard. It becomes really hard because you're not ready for that situation, and you think about it in a very different light. So basically, with the mobilization in Russia, we know that they suffered the heavy losses, that they haven't achieved anything basically of what they wanted in their terms of their military operation and advances, and that Ukrainian counteroffensive is pretty effective, that we're doing it right. We're doing it in a really good way, that Russian lines crumble. We suffer the losses, but we don't suffer the heavy losses because we do the smart moves. We do the really good maneuvering around and having like this operation really well planned. But at the end of the day, the war is far from over. The war is not over, and we need to be ready for the hardest challenges to come, especially in the winter. We may have a little bit of a stalemate, we may not, but I probably think that the this time, the winter, they will use more for training and preparing, and only will send like small batches, small groups of mobilized units to just patch some parts. And then later on, when it will be easier to move, we'll have much heater fightings, and more escalation on the front line as far as it can go. And of course, they'll use the missile strikes on the infrastructure. They will use the strikes to try to turn down our electricity, our heating, and everything. But we are preparing for that. We're thinking, and our anti-aerial defenses is doing a great job. But of course, it may be an issue, but we're getting ready for that, and we know what their plans are. So we'll keep on fighting.